Welcome to this Arnall-Culliford knitwear tutorial on Marlisle. This tutorial is part of our Boost Your Knitting series, 12 projects to teach you 12 new techniques from the world's best knitting designers. If you'd like to find out more about Boost Your Knitting or purchase kits or yarns to go with any of the projects in the collection, then do click the link which is up here. That will take you straight to our website where you should find everything you need. This is the lovely Sooper Sweater designed by Anna Maltz and showcases the Marlisle technique. Marlisle is a mashing together of the words marled, or using two colours held together to give that kind of blended look, and isle from Fair Isle, the technique used in stranded colourwork knitting. And by using a combination of marled stitches and Fair Isle, you can create all sorts of looks that would be much trickier to do using any other method. This tutorial is going to show you how to work the basic Marlisle method. It will show you stepwise how to work a decorative seam. The Sooper Sweater features these lovely seams down the side of the body and the inside of the sleeve. And I'll also show you how to work a nifty increase that is absolutely fantastic and super easy for use in Marlisle knitting. This is the sleeve of the Sooper Sweater, and it's worked using a technique called Marlisle. You have a background stitch in marled yarns, which means that you're holding two yarns together. And here that background stitch is garter stitch, which when you work it in the round means that you alternate between knit rounds and purl rounds. And then alongside the marled background, we've also got a section worked in the Fair Isle technique, where you strand the yarns not in use behind the work, and there you get these separate sections of colour. So you end up with three different distinct textures and areas within your work. You have the marled background, and then you've got the two different colours on the Fair Isle section. And I'm going to show you how to do this. It's remarkably straightforward. So we're on a purl round on the garter stitch, and we're going to work along holding both yarns together until we come to our section where we need to work Fair Isle. So we've purled all those stitches with both yarns held together. Taking the yarn to the rear of the needles, ready to work the Fair Isle section. And now I'm going to separate the two yarns. And I've chosen throughout this project to hold the blue yarn underneath the pale grey yarn. You can decide whichever way round you want to do it, and there are lots of different ways of holding your yarns for the Fair Isle section, so do whichever works best for you. I hold both of my yarns in my right hand, but you can hold one in each or both on the left as you wish, or you can even drop them between, that's fine as well, as long as you're consistent in picking up one from below the other, whichever way around that is. And now I'm going to knit the first two stitches in the darker yarn, in the blue, and now I'm going to work the next two stitches in the pale grey. I'm just going to make sure that I haven't over tightened that pale grey. I'm not going to cause the blue stitches to bunch up, exactly as you would when you were doing normal stranded colour work. And then another two stitches in the blue. Okay, so this is actually a decorative seam. That's one of the features of Marlisle designs by Anna Maltz, and she uses the decorative seam because where you have garter stitch in the round, you would otherwise have a jog or seam line in your garter stitch. So you have this nice 6-stitch seam motif worked in the Fair Isle. And now we're going to be continuing on in garter stitch with the marled yarns. So we've been holding them set up for Fair Isle. We're now going to hold them together, and we're now on to a knit round in the Marlisle. And so we just hold both yarns together to work our knit stitches. You obviously need to be careful as you're working along that you are catching both strands of yarn on each stitch. It would be easy to maybe only pick up one, but you're wanting to pick up both. One of the nifty tricks that you can do in Marlisle knitting is to use the double strands in the marled sections for working increases. So when you work a sleeve, you work increases each side of the start of the round, or the seam in this case. And the way that you do that, to increase from 1 stitch to 2, is that you knit into each strand of the stitch separately. So here is our next stitch, and it's composed of a pale grey and a blue strand, and instead of going into both of them together, I'm going to knit the first stitch into the blue strand and the second stitch into the pale grey strand. And we've there got 2 stitches where we had 1 before. If we knit on for a couple of stitches, then we can turn around and look at the rear of the work. And you can just about spot where the increase was, because you've got a stitch here with blue at the base and then one with pale grey at the base, where normally you'd have both. But other than that, it's pretty much invisible. Certainly on the right side of the work, you can't see it at all. And it doesn't matter in the slightest which way round you knit into the 2 strands of yarn. It's really just whichever's sitting on the needle first. So if I wanted to work into this one, I just knit the pale grey and then the blue. And that's how you work a split AB increase in Marlisle knitting. I hope you found that tutorial on Marlisle helpful and you now feel really confident in tackling new Marlisle projects. It's a really brilliant new technique and I've had loads of fun learning it myself. If you'd like to find out more about Boost Your Knitting, then do click the link up here to head over to our website, where you can find the book as well as all the yarns and kits to go with the designs in it. And if you've enjoyed this tutorial, why not subscribe to our YouTube channel, Gen AC Knitwear, and then you'll be sure not to miss our next video tutorial. Thanks ever so much for watching.